growling and scratching from the inside, and I felt like I was going to come out of my mind. I was just wanted to scream to the top of my lungs if I was not getting high. It was so bad that you would almost think the point of I'd rather not live if I can't get high. And I would beg God that if he could still hear me, that he could not help me to stop, that he would just let that next hit be the last one that took me out. I did slow down until I met methamphetamine and speaking to somebody that was looking out in the parking lot, and I was like, what's going on? And he said, it's the night of the living dead. And so I go out and I look and I see all these people walking in circles, and
Welcome to the 1334 podcast. I'm your host, Blake Barlow, and today Amanda Hall joins me to talk about her story through addiction, recovery, and what that looks like today. Where does your story with addiction really begin?
Well, it started in high school, drinking, smoking weed a little bit. I went through a little bit of a spell with that, with some blackout drinking. During that time, something really bad happened. I was raped. And you would think that would turn you away from all of that, but it kind of made me dive in even more because I didn't want to think about it. There was hurt. And so, it wasn't too out of control. It was at moments. I got married at 18 to my daughter's father, and it was good. We drank, smoked a little weed, no big deal. We loved to camp. Good, it was good. When I got pregnant with my daughter, of course, I stopped everything. No cigarettes, no nothing. I'm trying to be healthy for her. And after she was born, I felt like our marriage started to go a different direction. It was more, not that it was, he was bad. It wasn't. We grew apart. She became the main focus and the marriage became the last focus, I feel like. So when she was 3, we separated, and we divorced. And in that time, I met this guy, and he was attractive and he was fun and he made me feel seen and all of these things. And that was all good, until it wasn't. Didn't take long to realize he did a lot more than drink a little and smoke a little weed. There was a little more to that. I didn't want any part of it, so we fought. And when it got to where when my daughter would get her dad's, then it was, well, if you don't want me gone, you lighten up and go have a little fun. So that's kind of where it began with the harder. The cocaine. And the crazy thing is, the first time I did it, I hated it. I thought it was terrible. Why would you do this? I was on edge. I couldn't go to sleep, all the things. But in that, it was a good time. And I think that I felt, if I have to go back, I felt alive. Probably for the first time, I felt okay in my skin. There were the things that you think sometimes that people may look at me different, or, how do people see me, or all the crazy things. They were just gone, and I was happy and I was fun. So there that began. And it would be a whole weekend, and it wasn't an everyday thing though. But it was enough that I started to draw away from my family to hide that. I didn't go see my family as much. Didn't care to be involved. And so, I rocked on. I worked. I did the mom thing. I tried to be a good mom, the best that you can be when you're doing those things. And this guy just couldn't do right. He couldn't be faithful. He couldn't be. And so then there's those insecurities. Why am I not enough? Why, I'm doing everything he wants me to do. And so instead of bossing up and telling him to get out, that was my house. I kind of just fell into this really sad place of not being enough and not being seen like I was before. What happened? And I thought the more that I was the girl he wanted, it would fix it. But it doesn't, right? We know that. And so I began this really downward spiral. And this went on for years. Probably in 2016 is when it started being heavier. And then a couple of years into that, I partied. And I thought that it was okay for all my daughter's friends to party at my house because they were safe, had their keys. And so there I was being the worst mom and thinking I was the cool mom, but I wasn't. So then it was when she was there, I could party too. So it really became a bad thing. I had married this guy and he went to Texas to work, and then it really went south quick. Then it was like I didn't care. I felt like in my head, my daughter had her friends. She was older and she had them. She didn't need me so much, and I didn't feel needed. At times I didn't feel wanted. And the sad thing about that is an addiction when you're living that way. It's a bad place to be. And although you're having a good time with your friends and you think, "Oh, I'm living my life," when you're alone and you're coming down from all of that, that's the darkest and loneliest place to be. So I can fast forward to then I just didn't care. I had this, I just really don't even care anymore attitude.
Was it a depressive, apathetic sort of I don't care, or was it trying to hide from where you were?
I think it was both. And I think that I didn't want to admit to myself, and I definitely would not have admitted that to my family, that I was a mess and that I needed help.
Were you hiding it from everyone?
Absolutely. My parents had no clue. They didn't even know I drank a beer. Like, no clue whatsoever. And that's the sad part. My mom didn't know what was going on, but she knew I wasn't okay. And she would say, "Why don't you just come stay with me a while? We can sell the house. Stay with me for a while. It's not forever. Let's get you on your feet." And because she didn't know what, but she knew something was wrong because she's my mother. And I was like, "Oh no, I will not go and be controlled by my mother as a grown woman. Like, I can't do that." So I didn't. So I just dug further. And then in that guilt and in that shame that you feel because one of what you're doing, and then because you don't want anyone to know.
Yeah.
And I thought that if I went to her house, I won't have any fun. This will be no fun. And when I should have went, the shoulda, couldas, but I didn't. And so, long story short, I was losing my home. I was losing my daughter's home. But I didn't see that. I only thought I was losing my home. I didn't look at, she was also losing her home, And so I lost that. And I moved into a little apartment, and I had a really crappy job that barely paid, and I was trying to get by. And I did slow down until I met methamphetamine for the first time. And then that literally was off to the races. That was an addiction that you couldn't go a day without. I couldn't. I did not care about anything else but getting the next high. And so, gosh, I lost my job, of course. Um, Losing time. You lose so much track of time on that. And you would have good intentions, but just wouldn't happen. I'm sure my parents knew something seriously had to be wrong, but they had no idea what was really going on. My daughter Les wanted to be around me, and I cannot blame her. She shouldn't have been. And then I got arrested for the first time at 40 years old, and it was a felony charge, methamphetamines. So here I go to jail, and I have to call my parents and say I'm in jail. For what? And of course, I'm making up an excuse, that it wasn't me, it wasn't, and I'm lying through my teeth. And so they were like, no, we're not going to get you out. And so I was angry. And so I sat there for 9 days. I had a friend get me out. Dummies. They come and got me out because I got drugs for them. So, of course, they're going to come and get me out.
Wow.
Worst thing that could have happened. I should have sat there longer. And it didn't take 2 days, and I was right back at it. Just right back at it. And I remember sitting in jail and going, Lord, if you can get me out of this, I will not do this anymore. But I went right back to it. It was like just pulling and nagging at me, and that is addiction. It's something you can't just shake off. And so more jail. Now everybody knows. My truck got repoed, so then I don't have a truck, I don't have a job.
Was there a specific moment that you realized that it wasn't a choice anymore? Was it the meth or was it before?
The meth, for sure. For sure. I think the cocaine and all of that, when it was bad, it was more that it helped in that moment that I didn't have to face the reality of what was really going on in my life and just how much I was messing things up and not being a good mother. And I didn't want to face that.
What did people misunderstand the most about that season? About you during that season?
Why didn't she tell me? I think my family was, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me that you were struggling? Why? The thing any parent would say to our children, why didn't you tell me? I'd help you, because no matter what, our parents love us and they want to help us. And I think that was the biggest thing was why. And they may never understand. And why would they? They've not lived in addiction.
Was it a shame attached to it that caused you to not tell them?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't want them to know that, what I had turned out to be. It was shameful. It was very shameful. I was raised in church. I was raised to love the Lord. I was raised to trust in Him. And all those things that I had turned away from, that every time I was going through something, you got to talk to the Lord and you got to lean into Him. And I didn't want to hear that, right? I'm in addiction. But again, they didn't know.
Was there a moment you almost asked for help but didn't?
Yes. When I was losing my home, my new.
So, sorry to cut you off. Was it the reason you lost your home and everything, was it because your money was going towards drinking and alcohol? And
It was drugs and all of that. And I just became where it put me in a place I didn't care. Like deep down I did, but it was easier to just not care and just go get high again than to have to face the reality of what was really happening. And that seemed so childish. And I look back, how do you just like let everything go and just not care? But that's addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I had found something that could mask that pain.
Absolutely.
Until you came down. And so when I met Meth, I didn't come down.
So it's right back up.
Stayed up.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was bad. It got really bad before it got better. I can fast forward to 3 arrests, 3 different counties. And I think when I knew I knew I was in trouble, right? I'm living with people or staying in hotel rooms with people or that kind of life, but you stay high so you don't have to worry about it. And when you're out there, you have to be tough, especially as a woman. You can't show that you're not capable of handling yourself. You'll be taken advantage of. So I would cry in the shower and I would beg God that if he could still hear me, if that he could not help me to stop, that he would just let that next hit be the last one that took me out. If I couldn't be a good mother again, I didn't want to be here. But I thought he couldn't hear me.
What do people misunderstand the most about others in that situation? I think it's really easy for a lot of people to see, even like the guy on the side of the street asking for money. They see them and it's immediately some sort of, you create a persona for that person without realizing the story and the family behind that. What do you think is the most common misunderstanding?
Well, I think I hear a lot of people say it's a choice. It's not a disease. It's not, it's a choice. And it is a choice to use. It is. But how many people used cocaine one time and didn't touch it again for 10? Or they experimented in high school. They didn't have an addictive nature and they could walk away. When you had that, we say in the program, 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And that is literally what it's like. And you feel like, I know for me, I felt raging. I felt this rageness in me. Almost this demonic, if you want to say, just growling and scratching from the inside. And I felt like I was going to come out of my mind. I was just wanted to scream to the top of my lungs if I was not getting high. And it was so bad that you would almost think the point of I'd rather not live if I can't get high. But you don't want to live because you can't stop getting high. And it's the worst place to ever be.
Yeah. I think a lot of people see it as a choice. It's like, oh, well, they're just choosing to keep using. They're just choosing to stay there. But like you said, it's the first one might be a choice. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't pressured into it. Maybe it wasn't some sort of other type of situation. But I think you end up losing that choice. You're stuck on the treadmill. You're just running in the same place, just stuck.
Going nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah. But maybe a little further behind every time,
So what finally made that change feel possible?
So I was living in Albany in hotels. Towards the end of that, things really got bad. I've never been a little bitty girl, but I was about 123 pounds at that point. And I thought I looked good. Did not look good. I was a mess. I had never been that little, so I thought I looked good. No, I was terrible. But I think that I know that one morning I walked out. Not that I had been asleep, but I walked out and it was at the good old Palace as it was always called, and always probably will be by many, called the Dollar Inn or the Palace. And I remember walking out and speaking to somebody that was looking out in the parking lot, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he says, "The night of the living dead." And so I go out and I look and I see all these people walking in circles, and I was like, "What is going on? They got a hold of some bad dope." And I remember standing there in that moment and going, "This is not normal. What I have been doing and this is not normal." And so then all of those feelings start coming up, and that's scary and uncomfortable, and I don't want to be uncomfortable anymore. And so you use again. But it never got better from there. Um, and I kept finding myself in situations over the next few days that I really didn't want to be in. And so it all wound down to I went to jail again, and I went to Blaylock. And when I got in there, they asked me, did I have anyone I wanted to call? And I was like, no, no. And it was actually a few days before I made a call. I think I hit a point where I knew that I didn't need to try to ask anyone else to save me or to help me, that I've done this. And I think that was the lowest place that I felt.
What led to that? Was it an awakening? Or like what?
I believe that was God. When I thought that He couldn't hear me, He heard me. He heard every cry, every plead to let that one hit be the next one, because I knew that I had high blood pressure, and I knew that I had not been on my medication, and you add meth on top of it, so I knew that my heart, I knew. But I think that it was God nudging. I think that's when it started that morning, is that I happened to go out and see that, because I never went out front, because I did not want anybody to see me standing out there. So I never went to the front. It was always the back. But I did that morning, and I think that that was God. That last arrest was God. He was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. He was working in me. And I remember that this girl comes up to me and she knew me, and she goes, "You ain't called nobody?" She was like, "It's just a misdemeanor. It's like $1,000, you know?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, have you called your daughter to let her know you're here?" And I was like, "No." "Well, you might want to call her. She's probably worried." And I did. And she asked, "Do you want me to call Keaton? Do you want us to put money on your books? Like, what do you want me to do?" And I said, "No, I don't want anything. I'm okay." And I think that was finally the place where the breaking began. I didn't want anybody to do anything for me. I just wanted to shower, sleep, and eat. And God was moving, and there's no doubt.
Yeah. What did it feel like in that moment? Freedom?
A peace for the first time. Sitting in jail, I felt peace coming over me. Very unsure of a lot of things, but in the same thing, there was peace.
Yeah.
That's God's perfect peace that was coming over me, and I know that today.
So how does your journey lead from there to, you have to obviously continue that recovery journey. So,
Oh, yeah. So my daughter called my parents, and every time that I went to jail, my dad would come to see me at least once each place, and I knew he could get me out. and he would say, I won't bond you out, but what I will do is I'll OR bond you to rehab. I am not going to rehab and get up and walk out, and be ugly to him, and that's not going to happen. But he didn't come this time. He didn't come, and I'll never forget the moment that the officer of the court had called me out. I thought, what are we doing? And he sat me down and he said, so I've been talking to your dad. He's not coming this time. But he wants me to tell you one more time that he'll OR bond you to rehab. And I remember just sitting there and feeling blank almost. Never forget that moment. And he said, so what do you think? I said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, I don't seem to be making very good choices in my life anymore. And I don't really know what I need to do. And he said, well, you got two options. You can sit here another week or two and you'll probably, get a signature bond and get on out of here. He said, or you can take your dad's offer and give yourself a chance. And for the first time in a while, I could feel the tears burning my face. I could feel. And I said, I'll go. And so I did. And he dropped me off in the middle of nowhere. And I was terrified of the unknown. And that is where everything changed in my life. I worked the steps. He went to AA and I started working the steps. And so I figured out all the things that I didn't understand about myself. I wanted to point the finger. Well, this is why, or this person didn't do this or did do this, but that wasn't the case. I found that in every bad thing that may have happened in my life, I had a choice. And I made all the wrong choices, but that I had a chance. God gave me another chance to turn that around.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of time people end up just forfeiting their agency and their free will, and they're just like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
And I think what we see a lot of times is you can end up, once you realize you still have that chance, that choice, your own free will to make a decision, that I think when you realize that, many people still don't choose their own agency and their own freedom,
Right.
I think many people say, well, I'm just too far gone. But what's really powerful is your story is a story of taking the chance on yourself,
Yeah, absolutely.
realizing that you still have time left. You still have agency, you still have freedom, you still have free will. And I think that's really cool did you realize that in the moment as you ended up in the middle of nowhere at rehab?
Not at first. I was terrified. I was like, this place looks crazy. I don't know that I want to be here. And I remember saying, oh, I'm just going to be here for like 30 days. And they're like, no, this is a 6-month program. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no, I will not do this for 6 months. No cell phone, no television, no internet. No, I was like, what am I supposed to do? And it was learn to be a responsible adult again. Because in all of that, you forget. You just forget how to be a normal adult. And so I started learning those things and learning to let go of resentments Resentments will take you so far. They did me.
Yeah. So was it all 6 months you were there, or how long?
Yeah, I think the biggest change was 3 months in. I'll never forget it. We went to a Celebrate Recovery that a church had done for us ladies, and it was beautiful. There was several different rehabs that were there for women that came. And the story was a pastor's wife was up there, and I'll never forget this, and it always just touches my heart, and I want to share it with you because her and her husband helped so many children that were lost, and teenagers, and that needed their help, and they were able to help them, but their daughter became addicted to drugs, and they couldn't help her. And she just cried as she was telling the story, and how she just cried on her knees and begged God because she couldn't help her. And Lord, why can I help everybody else but my own child? And I remember I was just squalling because that was my parents. They didn't know what to do for me. They couldn't help me. And that's when I realized this isn't just about you. Look what you're doing to everybody that loves you.
Yeah.
And I remember hitting my knees at that altar call. And I don't remember walking down there. I don't remember who was around me. I just remember that it was me and God. And I said, Lord, I want you to take this addiction and this desire for it away from me. I want you to take my thoughts, my emotions, my mind. Lord, I give it all to you because all I do is make a mess. I've made such a mess. And our God, as good as He is, it was almost like I could just feel His love and Him saying, I love you. You're not too far gone. I hear you and I've always heard you. And I get very emotional in that moment because it was the first time that I had felt the Lord in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for some people, like you said, that just look at people and think the worst of them. But God loves that person on the side of the road so very much. And if He can forgive us and love us, why can't we forgive? Why can't we show empathy and kindness and love? Meet somebody where they are. Because we never know.
Mm-hmm.
We never know.
That's powerful.
But God.
Yeah. You feel like your heart was softened then?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Was that the turning point for you?
Absolutely.
It made it all stick?
Yeah, it did. That's when it began. And I know June 19th this year will be 9 years in recovery. And all those things that I asked God for that day on my knees, He's done. There's never been a thought to go back ever again. Never a desire. Even in the hardest points where I've told people, the only time you'd really have to worry about me is if my parents die, or if this person wasn't in my life, and those things have happened. And as hard as they were, because my mom wearied the Lord for me. My dad called everywhere he knew and everybody he knew to try to help his daughter because they didn't know what to do. What do? those prayers were heard. And even though I lost them and it broke my heart, I'm so thankful that they got to see me clean and sober, and there wasn't no way I would ever let them down.
Yeah.
Never.
There's a verse that talks about how it says that your children will raised in a good home will come back to the Lord.
Yeah.
And your story is quite literally a testimony of that verse.
Yes. Yes, and that's what's so important, to get your children to the Lord. Because even though they may depart, they will come back.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about recovery.
So how does your story play a role in the recovery work you do now?
Well, I found it very important to dig more into this because that's where my heart was. So, worked a little bit in recovery and MAP programs. And then I went to the CARES Academy and went through that and got my CPSAD. I learned so much in that week that I was in Atlanta about addiction and how there's not one way, you know? And that was crazy because one thing that kind of was instilled in me is there's one way, and if you got to do it this way, or you're not going to make it. But that's not true.
One way to
Only one way to get recovery and to keep it, and there are many ways. There's many tools, there's AA, there's NA, there's the Lord, and people get it different ways. I went to AA. Those tools, those steps, brought me back to God. It helped me deal with the resentments that I had that I didn't even know I had. Things that were keeping me sick, per se, as they say in the program. And so I'm so thankful for that. But today, where I'm at is it's just my relationship with God. I think of that song all the time. He gave me chance after chance. And all I want to do is just praise Him all the days of my life for all that He's done and help other people and give them hope, and so it went on, and just recently, I had the great privilege in December of coming on at the men's Anchorage, which has been a special place to us. My husband is involved with Anchorage. He is a sponsors the guys and goes out there every week. And we've loved the Anchorage. So to be able to come on board there and to do what I get to do today is such a blessing. I was telling my coworker this morning, I said, I love coming to work. Who says that? Because I'm a lot of times the first person that someone talks to when a family calls. That was my parents calling, and they don't know what to do. And they're scared and they have all these questions. And to be able to have the patience with them. And they'll say, I'm so sorry. I said, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. But it's but God. I thought I would die out there. And it's just proof that the Lord, He can take what is so broken and turn it into something so beautiful. And I'm just so glad that my mess can help somebody else, that I can have empathy and love. And it's just so amazing to be a part of such a great team that's doing something so amazing and giving others a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you stepping into a role someone just had in your life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I just always, always say, but God, but God. And I know that the Lord was shifting me for a while and I didn't know what. I remember telling my husband, I said, well, mascara, that I said, I don't know what the Lord is wanting to tell me, but He is definitely trying to tell me something. And so I just kept praying. And I did not see it that it was going to be my job and it wasn't going to be at the Anchorage, but that's what it was. And so when you walk into what God wants for you and you can learn to listen to the Lord, it's amazing what He will do
Yeah.
in your life. It's a spiritual place there. It's a blessing. I just felt honored
Yeah.
to be a part of it.
Your story is powerful. I know that. So the first recovery story I covered, I had so many people reach out to me and say, people that I know and have known for years, and they're like, I have a story just like this. I have a story just like this. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's wild to me to see the amount of people that have been impacted by walking out recovery, that have been impacted by, just changing their life and have powerful testimonies that you would have no idea.
Oh, yeah. No.
And I think that it's such a larger problem than people realize, because it's really easy to see numbers. It's really easy to see statistics, but not see individual stories,
Absolutely.
I think it's so powerful to take one one moment and really just see the human, and see the spirit of God on people. Um,
People hide things, right? I did. They hide their pain because they don't want people to see them like that. We have no idea the pain that other people are walking through daily around us at work, in church.
is there one thing that you would want to leave with our audience, whether they are going through a season that you walked through, or they know somebody that is, or they have a family member that is? What piece of advice?
If someone is struggling, don't be ashamed to reach out and don't stop asking the Lord to help you. Because even though you think He doesn't hear you, He does. And reach out to somebody, reach out to me. Somebody sees this and reach out to me. Reach out. Don't be ashamed. That's the most important thing that people need to know is don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Everybody is walking through something, right? Everybody. Because that's life, but don't ever be ashamed of anything.
Yeah.
Give yourself that chance because you're worth it. You're worth it. God loves you.
If somebody wants to connect with you or the Anchorage, how could they reach out?
Absolutely. For the men, of course, that's up and running now. All you got to do is call the office. We're there. You'll probably be talking to me. I may answer the phone. Give us a call. We're here to help. To help you get your life back. And to be able to heal. Because that's so big is to heal. There's no judgment. Hopefully the women's will be up and running this June. We are praying. I am so excited because I know what it was like to walk into a place where I didn't have to worry about being judged. They just wanted to help me. And so I know what a blessing this will be for so many women to come in. I know that myself, along with so many others, are going to pour in to those women. And so, we're hoping for June to get that going. I love what Albany, Georgia has going on in recovery right now. There are so many different things happening, but it does cost money. The one thing I love about the Anchorage that I would like to throw in is that you got $40, somebody's got $40. My poor parents had to pay a lot of money. My dad paid a lot of money. And a lot of people's families don't have that. And you'll get that opportunity. And so we do have fundraisers going on all the time for our women's. If anybody wants to help out with what God's going to be doing, because we know that He's going to bless and change lives. We have an ongoing, we love this, we're doing brick pathways for the women. And so you can reach out to us at anchor.bricks. And what that's going to do is you can honor somebody in your life that you love in memory of someone. If you're in recovery and you want to put something out there to encourage another woman along the way, there are these opportunities. There's so many opportunities. And the community, I can't reach enough people to say this, and I'm so glad that we get that chance today, is that we have an amazing community.
Yeah.
We look at the crime and the homelessness, but that's everywhere. But what I want to say about our community is they are pouring in not only to the Anchorage, but to Motif. And what a blessing that our community is. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to our community for not judging and for giving somebody a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the funds to be able to donate, please share the story.
Absolutely.
Because this may impact somebody that really needs to hear this. You need to break the fourth wall and tell them directly. Please share.
Please share. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.